Today's top list from British Pathé, the top 5 worst disease epidemics of the 20th century. Now, we've had epidemic diseases throughout history, and some of them, such as the Black Death, become the stuff of legend. Unfortunately, we're still stuck with a few of them. If you look back to the year 1900, we see that the leading causes of death in the United States at the time were influenza and tuberculosis, but the big killer of the 19th century was cholera. Now, all three of these diseases were epidemic diseases, but today, the biggest killers are the non-epidemic diseases of heart disease and cancer. Here we go. Number 5, typhus. Typhus is spread by lice and fleas in places associated with poor hygiene, such as prisons, refugee camps, and early in the 20th century, armies. Typhus killed 3 million people in Eastern Europe during World War I and its aftermath, and the epidemic reached its peak in Soviet Russia in 1922 with over 35 million cases. A vaccine was developed between world wars, but was greatly improved during World War II, though during that war typhus was a major killer in POW and concentration camps. Among its victims, the 15-year-old Anne Frank. Because of the vaccine, we now only see it in very undeveloped regions of the world, with a few thousand cases occurring each year. Number 4, HIV and AIDS, which has killed around 40 million people worldwide so far, but many millions more are affected, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where as late as 2012, about 25 million people, roughly 70% of the global total, were estimated to be infected. This is the most recent epidemic in the top 5, and we know how to prevent it. Unfortunately, many people do not or are not able to protect themselves, so the death toll will continue to rise. Number 3, malaria, another killer that is still with us. In the first half of the 20th century, malaria killed an average of over 3 million people a year, and in 2014, still kills up to 1 million a year. This is an average of 1 death from malaria every 30 seconds, and the majority of those deaths are children under the age of 5. Now, it's hard to get exact stats because a lot of this happens in rural areas where things are undocumented, so the real death toll may be quite a bit higher. Number 2, the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu killed between 30 and 50 million people worldwide in 2 years. And actually, some estimates are as high as 100 million. Now, this in itself is an insane number of victims, but think about this. The flu came right at the end of the First World War, which itself claimed around 40 million casualties, and then suddenly, tens of millions more died of the flu. It's even worse when you consider that, unlike most other flus and illnesses, the Spanish flu primarily killed healthy young adults rather than the very old or the very young, since it kills by causing the immune system to massively overreact, and healthy immune systems reacted more strongly than others. Now, this form of influenza was so virulent that it's been estimated that as much as 40% of the world population got ill with the flu at some point in those 2 years, and it killed between 3 and 6% of the entire global population. Now, the flu, the Spanish flu, may have been the big, quick killer of the 20th century, but it wasn't the biggest epidemic disease. That dubious honor goes to number 1, smallpox. Before vaccination became global, smallpox killed between 300 and 500 million people worldwide in pretty much just the first half of the 20th century. One of the deadliest diseases in human history, smallpox is incredibly contagious, and there is no cure and no treatment. The World Health Organization set up a massive campaign to eradicate smallpox in 1967, and they meticulously searched the world for outbreaks to combat with the vaccine. The last known natural case was in Somalia in 1977, and smallpox was officially declared eradicated in 1980. So there you have it, the 5 worst epidemic diseases of the 20th century. Now click here to see last week's episode on flying aces, and come back next Sunday to see another top list. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.